Faculty Fellowship. Let us begin this occasion with an invocation. I request all of you to rise for the Tamil Thai Varthu, followed by our national song.
நீராறும் கடலுடுத்த நிலமடந்தை தெழிலொழுகும் சீராறும் வதனமென திகழ்வரத கண்டமிதில் தெக்கணமும் மதி சிறந்த திராவிடனல் திருநாடும் தக்க சில பிறையுதல் தரிதனரும் திலகமுமே அத்திலக வாசனை போல் அனைத்துலகும் இன்பமுற எத்திசையும் புகழ் வணக்க இறந்த பெரும் தமிழனே சீரிடமை திறம்பியன்று செயல்பட வாழ்வதுமே வாழ்வதுமே வாழ்வதும் வந்தே மாதரம் வந்தே மாதரம் சுஜலா சஷ்யஷாமளா வந்தே மாதரம் யுக்ரஜோத்ஸ சுஹாசினி சுமலுரபாஷினி சுகதாம்பர வந்தே மாதரம் வந்தே மாதரம்.
Hope is being able to see that there is light despite all the darkness. I now invite Mrs. Rajalakshmi, wife of Dr. V. Ganesan, Mr. Venkatasubramanian, son of Dr. V. Ganesan, and Mrs. Aparna, daughter of Dr. V. Ganesan, to come forward to light the lamp. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. I now invite Professor Mahesh Panchagnula, Dean of Alumni and Corporate Relations, to welcome the gathering.
Good morning, friends. It gives me great joy to welcome all of you to the launch of the V. Ganesan Faculty Fellowship in the Department of Mechanical Engineering at IIT Madras. Professor Ganesan was a stalwart, a long-time faculty member in the Department of Mechanical Engineering. In an age when IC engines were solely the realm of industry, and even there, not in the highest of technological spaces. Professor Ganesan was instrumental in building a lab here at IIT Madras that gained great repute globally. He was also very well known among students as a teacher who cared for the students' progress, and as a person who took care of his PhD students' well-being and career growth. It gives us great pleasure that Adil has taken this great cause to create a faculty fellowship in the name of Professor Ganesan. Anil's track record is impeccable. He started with the Professor V. Ramamurthy Fellowship, and now he's on to we are today here to launch a second fellowship in the name of Professor Ganesan, another teacher that greatly influenced him, he tells me. These occasions are also very important for us to acknowledge our peers, our peer faculty members who have exceeded our collective expectations, and this is our way of recognizing them and nudging them to move forward in their chosen path a little faster, and for us to also think about ways by which we can enable their growth in a more constructive fashion. Thank you all for coming. I know it's great to see all of our colleagues who have helped IIT get to where it is today. And I want to close with one thought. As you all may have read in the newspapers today, we've been ranked #1 again for the 5th year in a row. And we are here where we are only because of faculty members like Professor Ganesan, Professor K.V. Gopalakrishnan, who taught me, and dozens and dozens of faculty members who worked very hard in times when it was not at all the in thing to do. Today, research is front and center in everybody's mind. But back in a day, 20, 30, 40 years ago, when there was only a handful of people who were trying to do research, who tried to do their best in those times, and many who exceeded not just the national aspirations, but made a mark globally, is what makes IIT what it is today. And I want to sincerely extend my gratitude to all of those faculty members who helped us get to this #1 ranking today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I would like to call upon Ms. Sujata Dubey, Vice President, Office of Institutional Advancement, to read the citation on Dr. V. Ganesan.
Good morning, everyone. It is my privilege to read this citation on Dr. V. Ganesan. Dr. V. Ganesan completed his MTech in 1970 and his PhD in 1975 with his degree in IC engines and gas turbine engineering at IIT Madras. After an illustrious career spanning some 40 years, Dr. V. Ganesan retired from IIT Madras in 2015 after graduating 41 PhDs and about 200 MTech and MS students while mentoring scores of undergraduate students. He published 444 scientific articles, authored 3 books on IC engines, heat transfer, and gas turbines, and he pursued research collaborations at the Imperial College of Science and Technology and at Kyoto University. Dr. Ganesan won many international acclaims, including becoming a Fellow of the Society of Automotive Engineers, SAE International, a Fellow of the Indian National Academy of Engineering, Fellow of the Institution of Engineers of India, and Fellow of the National Environmental Science Academy of India. He received the Lifetime Achievement Award from the International Society of Energy, Environment, and Sustainability for his valuable contributions in the area of energy and the environment. Dr. Ganesan was the founding member of SAE India, where he served as a lifetime member since its inception. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I now call upon Dr. Amritur Anil Kumar and Professor Mahesh Panchagnula to come forward to sign the MOU. Thank you, sir. It is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Amritur Anil Kumar, a distinguished alumnus of IIT Madras. Dr. Anil Kumar is a space scientist, aerospace engineer, and an educator. He graduated with B.Tech in Mechanical Engineering from IIT Madras in the year 1982. He is a professor at Vanderbilt University, United States of America, who has diversified research interests and is also the founder of the Vanderbilt Aerospace Design Laboratory at the Vanderbilt University. He has also published more than 50 papers in various international journals. We are very happy to have such an eminent personality amongst us. I now request Professor Anil Kumar to enlighten us with his words.
Okay. Good. Good. All right. Welcome, everyone. I think we've finally come a full circle. I think we are where we wanted to be, except that along the way, we lost Dr. Ganesan himself. So that's the most unfortunate part. Maybe one way to look at it is he has done his part at IIT Madras. It's probably that we all need to take it forward in all ways possible. So I don't think we should be so upset that we lose the occasion. Good. Okay. All right. Is it better? Okay. Shall I rewind or? Okay. Good. Good. All right. So these are some pictures that Venkat sent me. Clearly, the Ganesan that I knew and the Ganesan that eventually evolved. The Ganesan that I knew, I want to be very frank, was somewhat quiet. I would use the word reticent. He wasn't too much of a outgoing kind of extrovert kind of person. He was more scientific in that description. But I think somewhere post-retirement, he has spread out and served society well, and society has acknowledged his activities through various awards that Sujata read out. I particularly like this picture where I think he's visiting some other university and could be, or I don't know, it could be even IIT Madras. No, I think he's come in a car. So he's probably visiting some other university as a distinguished guest and things like that. So I think overall, I think he served the society outside just the narrow area of internal combustion engines. I think he was, I was talking to the Vice Chancellor of Banaras Hindu University last week, Dr. Sudhir Jain, who was my classmate, and he said he has very fond memories of working with Dr. Ganesan, and I was just surprised. The Ganesan that I knew and the Ganesan he's talking about, are they the same person? Apparently they are. And apparently Dr. Ganesan was very much involved in quality improvement programs at other universities, and that's where Dr. Jain and he met often. And I think it's a fitting tribute that he has done a lot more outside this institution as well. I think Sujata went through this, so I'm not going to go over it again, except to say that he published 3 books on IC engines, heat transfer, and gas turbines. So writing a book, I'm sure Mahesh will agree, is not easy. In fact, even just accumulating the notes you give out in class and trying to write a book is not easy. And trying to find people who will read your book is even harder. And I think this is an accomplishment that needs to be lauded. And this is where I find a lot of similarity between Dr. Ganesan and Dr. Ramurthy, who also has written several books. So I think this is above and beyond. And I want to really bring this into focus because I personally can't write a book. And I want to be very clear about it. I like reading books, but I can't write a book. So it's a great skill. In early December 2021, I have to come to a context here as to where did I show up in all this. In early December 2021, after a gap of about 40 years, I reached out to Dr. Ganesan and had a Zoom chat with him and mentioned about my current work in IC engines and lubrication and SAE publications. This is not something that I have been involved with for the last 40 years. Suddenly, I found some funding in US, you're always looking for funding and trying to tie things together. So I got excited. I thought I'll talk to Dr. Ganesan about it because he's been active in SAE and things like that. I insisted in the Zoom call that he show his face. He had some internet connectivity issues, but I insisted that I will only talk to him if I see him. And I think his daughter will agree that wasn't an easy conversation, but we went through. At the end of that conversation, I broached the idea of setting up a faculty fellow chair at IIT Madras in his name to promote excellence in thermal fluids engineering through recognition of emerging junior stars, mirroring Dr. Ganesan's own rise in the early 80s. So I mentioned this to him. He warmed up to the idea. He was very excited about it. And in a few weeks, he personally collected a list of his PhD and master's students with the assistance of Dr. Vijayashree. He also reviewed a write-up for his faculty fellow chair, and he mentioned in several emails that I have and treasure that he made him really happy. So I think, I don't know how to look at this. One way to look at this is maybe it was fortuitous to have this conversation and tell him that this is what we wanted to do. I think it made him happy. I sometimes wonder what would be the opposite of it if the event that happened, and we were doing this, but without he being aware, I think it would have made this a little bit smaller. I think we're enriched by the fact that he was aware of it. And I thank everyone who came forward to put this program together. And before I come to that slide, I want to say that I like this picture that Venkat sent to me. And the last time I saw Venkat was at Dr. Ganesan's house in 1982, when I needed some recommendations for graduate school application. I think it was 81. He said his child was born, so he couldn't come. So he asked me to come home, and I don't know, in our era, we used to write our own recommendation letters and just ask the professors to sign it. So he went over it a couple of times and then just signed it. And the next time is on the Zoom, and Venkat sent me this picture, and I like this. I'm just going to assume that Dr. Ganesan is also watching this presentation, and wherever he is sitting in a chair, and just wanting to listen to what I would have to say or anybody else would have to say. So this picture to me is very valuable, and thank you for that picture. So I think he's there. He's just watching, okay? So, buddy, can you put this back? Slideshow. Okay. Okay. So a little bit of connection to IITM. This is the project I worked on for my undergraduate, whatever you want to call it, thesis or project. This is I have a copy of it. This is how he used to look to us, somewhat angled like this. This is his signature on my project report. So I just took a picture. And so pretty much this is the relationship that has continued in absentia till I talked to him on Zoom, and then suddenly he's not there. Okay. So we did work on internal combustion engines, and this was at IITM, the project, and I won't start here. So he's going to be listening to what I have to say. I'm going to talk about learning by doing, experiential learning, and I want to bring to focus many aspects that are very important in discourse and debate nationally. And I'm going to be somewhat of I take a critical angle to a lot of things because I'm myself some sort of a perfectionist, but I'm not some outsider having that critical angle. I still continue to be the citizen of India. So I think in that sense, I am an insider looking inside. So I don't have any problems making comments and things like that. So what do we want to create at IIT Madras, leaders or followers? There are people who have become leaders, but on their own. What has been the contribution of IIT Madras? And I want to go there, and I want to start here. There are a lot of worrying trends in engineering, training, education, and societal impact. There's a tremendous talent migration to IT at an insane level. We have become a one-dimensional country. Of course, we have a lot of obsession about ranking. Well, Mahesh mentioned that we are ranked #1 in engineering. So I'm going to take this obsession as led to some outcome, but there are limits to it. Internationally, where are we going to be going? Can we even make it into it? And how is that going to work out? Because whoever is at the top will refuse to budge. So IIT Madras will refuse to budge its ranking in India. In a similar sense, it trying to participate in world affairs, there will be refusal to budge too. So it is kind of stratified, and we have to pick our fights carefully. We have other issues as a nation. We don't have any product for the international market. We have endemic systems level failures. I mean, the train accident near Bhubaneswar is a good example or a bad example of that. I think we just move on. It's okay if things happen once, but they keep happening. Is our engineering up to the challenge is the big thing. Experiential learning is what I'm going to talk about. The idea behind it is to build competent, confident, and creative engineers, the 3 Cs. Without exposure to challenging projects, students will be lost to real engineering. IT is not real engineering. The real engineering is the one that Dr. Ganesan was part of, and what I want to talk about. Students generally want to be leaders. They want to see contemporary relevance in projects. And as faculty, this is important for the faculty fellow program today. I think it's important for faculty. Do they feel successful through the success of others? By mentoring others and seeing them succeed, do you feel that you have been successful too? I have been asking that question myself, and my own trajectory started as a space scientist and has now ended up as an aerospace educator, because the space science part had very long lead times, like 8 years to start a project, take it to design, completion, testing, validation, flight, results, and evaluation, testing, validation, and things like that. Students can't work on 8-year life cycles. They like the 8-month life cycle. So I had to come up with projects that have 8-month life cycles. And we will talk about the outcomes as we go along. Competitions and winning is very important. Participation is not a big deal. And I think we need to be very careful. A lot of us tend to be happy about participation, but people only know about winners. Nobody knows about who came 3rd, 4th, or anything like that. Challenging students with projects where there are no second chances is very important. Students need to suffer through a project where the only outcome that is appreciated is the positive outcome. I think we need to rub things off our backs that participation is okay, sportsman spirit is okay, all that nonsense. We have to put it in that things have to be perfect, things have to work. Students' creativity has to be unleashed through design, because this is a very creative process, design. We need to build a community of sincere and dedicated problem solvers and take the interdisciplinary approach. The traditional topics in engineering are passé now. We need to be able to look at how to bring it all together, and because real problems are only engineering problems. They can't be just mechanical, materials, electrical, computer. The whole thing has to go in to arrive at a solution. And we should not be level setting these problems. This is a BS level problem. This is a master's level problem. This is a PhD. Problems really have no level set. The perfect outcome that we are demanding requires that all groups of people work together. And this is very important. So we need to be able to combine all this. And they need to work on the complete life cycle, from fundamental science to engineering analysis to technological deliverables. That is when everything is satisfying. I think the people out there, outside the walls, outside the entry gate, should be able to say, I know this IIT Madras, these kids should do this because I saw it on TV. They do this. It's really wonderful. So let's see. The drivers really are innovation. Without innovation, the project work is absolutely boring. The other thing is how to bring a team of students together to solve a problem. It has disruption built into it because you can disrupt the traditional schemes, the traditional themes, the traditional processes of ranking and things like that. Through a project-based engineering, you can get the attention that you are looking for because you may be never able to get to those levels in as far as university rankings and things like that are concerned. So this provides a capability to disrupt things. The other aspect that this will emphasize is the need for perfection. Outcome of all this will be publicity, which is badly needed. To do a project, you need to be looking at a low cost, high tech, short life cycle kind of project. And that's the kind of project I'm going to talk about. Whether it is transferable, that we will discuss as needed. This is the organizational template of the lab that I've set up. It's similar to what NASA has. 10% are doctorate students, 20% are master's students, and about 70% are bachelor students. They are drawn from mechanical, computer science, electronics, and other fields of engineering to work on a project. So it's an interdisciplinary laboratory challenging students on top-of-the-line themes. Here's a good example of undergraduates on the project, and I'm just going to start here. So the focus of the projects that I work on are low atmospheric rocket flight. The challenges here are high G, it is 15 times gravity, high speeds, 500 miles per hour, extremely short duration, about 10 seconds tops. A lot of issues to deal with, aerodynamic resistance, wind shear, that all affects the rocket flight. The global issues of sustainability, renewability, energy, environment are all put together as challenges. And most importantly, failure is not an option. I don't want to deal with failure. I don't want students to deal with failure. I want them to deal with it the right way, which is to be successful. And then only can you deal with societal issues which are engineering based and not have systems level failures and things like that, because that needs to be drilled in at the highest possible levels of challenge, and then only you can create those world-class engineers. Okay, here's a project I want to talk about, but I'm not going to eat up a lot of time. But technically, what we are talking about is a home-built, and rocket that takes off at 15 G, reaches about 500 to 600 miles per hour speeds, turns in the wind, and then it comes back to the ground. It's recovered by a process of using parachutes, which is a parachute-based recovery. And then post-recovery, the tail section is set up for a payload activity. And I will describe all that in full detail. The whole program is only a couple of minutes. The whole takeoff is about 16 seconds. Landing is in about 60 seconds. And then a variety of other activities have to all work in unison. So there are literally about 90 points of failure, mission critical points. Each of those need to work for the final outcome to come through. The final outcome that we are planning here is the design of a camera system which upon landing will receive and process radio frequency signals and execute a set of commands. So this is achieved by incorporating a lift mechanism, a camera leveling, leg deployment, and bay rotation into the payload design. There are 90 points. Any one of those can potentially tank the mission And many of these are heavily critical. Otherwise, the rocket will come crash into smithereens and pretty much destroy itself. And on this side too. So there is structural engineering, there is propulsion, there is aerodynamics, there is materials engineering, there is chemical engineering, there is recovery, there is electronics, there is computer science, and there is mechanisms, controls and dynamics, everything built into the project. And this kind of project design has been going on 17 years on 17 different innovative projects. This is the payload. Basically, after landing, technically the payload is basically aligned itself such that it can rotate autonomously and then actually release a lift system and a camera leveling system such that it can basically survey the surroundings and then take the pictures on RF commands, store it in the computer, and basically be ready for a second launch. So there are 90 points around which a failure can happen. And basically, it's a very carefully challenged project, and we'll go through it systematically. Okay, so some of the key things here in the sequential operation of the payload system is legs have to deploy in addition to the fins so that you have a level landing payload. Parachutes have to detach upon landing because the parachutes will pick up the wind and drag this payload and basically destroy it to a large extent. So autonomously landing has to be detected, and then parachutes have to be jettisoned off. The payload bay has to orient itself such that the camera can go upwards and not go downwards or sideways. And then the camera has to extend, it has to level itself. The antennas have to receive the RF commands. And the camera has to swivel based on the RAFCO commands and execute the mission. All of this needs to happen in a given mission. So this is the rocket. I'm going to quickly run through. It's about 50 pounds and it's about 10 feet long. It's made of carbon fiber and it's all built in-house. And these are the components of the rocket, literally about 150 components, all made in-house, basically on the machines, using rapid prototyping, standard fabrication, curing, and this is the finished product. All made by students, all built in-house. Nothing just procured from the market or anything. Analytical aspects come into the picture. I do teach a course in propulsion. Flight dynamics is part of it. And you can model the trajectory of the rocket. There are a lot of variables here: angle at which you take off, the variability of thrust, the wind speed, and the bending into the wing, and the landing spot, and things like that. These things are very important because if it doesn't land within a framework, then you lost contact with the rocket. It can't receive the commands. It can't execute the mission. So this whole thing about landing on is equivalent to landing on a different planet and autonomously executing a mission. Vehicle dynamics, there's more of these simulations that can be done, especially with MATLAB and things like that. You can do this. So the velocity of the rocket can reach up to 650 feet per second. The leg deployment system, you can't have legs on the rocket or takeoff. It aerodynamically not feasible. So when it finishes and reaches the apogee, legs are deployed, again autonomously based on detection of the apogee, so that basically it's available for a post-landing configuration. Requires a lot of testing because it's going to come down at quite a bit clip of energy. So if the leg breaks, you lost the project again. So this is some of the components that go into the leg deployment system, pretty much all made in-house. The parachute detachment system has to work, again, under autonomous commands. Basically, here too, the parachute can start pulling and dragging the payload. So we need to avoid that. So landing has to be detected. faultlessly, and then the parachute has to be let go. And here is all the testing protocols that are going on. Rotating of the camera bay is important. If you notice here, the camera bay is basically rotating to achieve the vertical configuration that is required for the camera nacelle to align itself, and for the camera then to take the radio frequency commands and execute it. So to achieve that rotation capability, you need to have thrust bearings and things like that. The big question that comes up is, so all of these mechanisms are on the rocket. So, but the rocket is going up 16G. So none of these should fall off. If they fall off, you lost the game. It will kill somebody. So your design should be so perfect that everything needs to be on it, challenged by 16G and 600 miles per hour. That's the kind of engineering that you need to know. Automatically, you need to know that if you don't do it right, you're going to kill somebody. This is the margin at which you want to operate these projects. Good schools need to take up these kind of projects. Not only should everything work, you also need to be worried about safety, reliability, repeatability, and everything else. Because if you don't do that kind of engineering, you're going to have systems level failures, and you're not going to build a society that is going to be confident about the systems that you've built. And that is not a good thing. Okay, here is camera housing, and then the rotation mechanism, a lot of testing, integration needs to go. And every time you put components in it, you need to have a systems level review and look at the aerodynamics of the vehicle, so that the vehicle's aerodynamics should not be affected to the point where you won't reach your altitude and things like that. So there is a recovery system where the rocket has to split itself and deploy parachutes in flight so that it can land with a low amount of energy. Otherwise, it will just go 6 foot under. And basically, during these deployments, which are high G events, nothing inside the rocket should come through, nothing should shoot through, nothing should fall off from the sky. The same structural engineering requirements are going to be imposed. And these are the deployment testing. This is gunpowder charges that are used to blast this. So this has to happen in flight. This has to happen in flight, the separation of these. The electronics for this is all home built. The GPS recovery system is important because you need to know where it landed, and you need to have that stored. The reception protocols, software-defined radios and antennas to receive the radio frequency commands to execute is very important. So there are tiger teams that take on different activities, communicate, cross-communicate, build, test, validate, integrate, validate, test, build. It just goes on. Over 8 months, this thing goes on like a military campaign with only one shot at testing and achieving that purpose. So here's the lift system that comes out. So it is kind of compacted into the airframe, as the airframe is lined this way. And here's the lift system coming out for the survey post-landing. So in other words, the autonomy of this requirement is that landing is detected, and then the payload chamber is aligned, and after that, the lift is asked to take off. All right. So then there is the leveling system. Every time here is testing that's going on to see how robust it is and how much it can do, and take the commands and level the platform for doing the imaging. And then, of course, I just want to run by saying that all things have to be really, really retained. Otherwise, you lost the plot. You lost the plot. Because even a small nail coming off from about 1,000 feet can really go through a person, and that'll be the game. So everything needs to be tested. Everything needs to be validated. Everything needs to be locked in place to take that final plunge. And all the PC boards are custom built because each of these projects has a custom requirement. And the only thing that we integrated here for our rocket was the USB AutoCams for taking the pictures, because they're easily available. and this eventually comes back at us. We will talk about that as we go along. So this is the sequential operations, just a high-level view. As I said, there are 90 points of failure. Technically, 7 key mission-critical aspects are pointed out here, and I ran through it earlier. So, okay, so when we go to this mission, we launch the rocket, and this is the final configuration with binoculars that we saw from 500 feet away. The rocket had landed, parachutes had detached, the bay had oriented, the escalator had lifted the camera, and this is a CAD drawing. That was the expectation. This is how it was. So from 500 feet, when we saw it, we said, wow, this looks great. So if you understood the project, I'm just going to play a project video to kind of summarize it, and then I'll talk a little bit more. And my buddy here might have to adjust the volume on this. Okay.
Okay, everybody keep an eye on this bird.
So I said, it did everything, all the 90 things. When we looked at it, it was all there. So what happened? Did it work? Did everything work? Well, let's go over it. So from a distance, it looked like everything worked. Then we talked to the computer through radio contact, and the computer replied back saying that it went through, we looked through the protocol, it went through this, but it did not take pictures. It had basically detuned the USB devices, because those are USB controlled cameras. So the computer replied back saying, I don't have any pictures. So that was the 90th thing that could mess up the mission. So what do? Well, you can't go near it and start pulling wires like my friends here were doing for the last half an hour. So we sat there and said, some students started crying. I said, no, it's not lost. It is not lost. These things happen to NASA too. So what does NASA do? Reboot. So we said, let's reboot this. When we rebooted it, the USB devices, peripherals came on board, and the camera, the computer here took the RF commands and executed the mission and took pictures. Soft reboot did not go there, did not touch it, did not pull any wire because technically it's on Mars or Moon or somewhere else. So is the education complete? Have we delivered a perfect product? I would say yes and no. So what happened? Well, that day when we launched this rocket, the rocket, that's black rocket, it stood on the launch pad for literally 6 hours on a hot, sunny day. 16 seconds after launch, it's almost on the ground, 60 seconds after launch. Could it be that basically the computer was hot and had basically detuned some of the peripheral activities, and therefore we were in this pickle? So to test that hypothesis, we took the entire payload electronics bay, put it in a hot box, and raised the temperature of the ambient from the standard 25, 30, 35, and 45, and asked it to do all the activities that is supposed to be done post-landing. At around 45, we are seeing USB malfunction. USB malfunction. In other words, the USB drivers were being detuned. So there is the culprit basically sitting in that hot sun in a black body. Technically, the computer had gotten so hot that by the time it executed a few commands, it could not execute any more commands because the process of execution itself was increasing its temperature to the point when it reached a threshold of about 85, when it starts detuning itself. This is when it happened. Now, so what do you do for the next thing? Well, you do what like NASA did, wait till everything is compiled and ask it to reboot. It worked fine. But to mitigate this, you need to put an autonomous USB refresh after the backup in the software, which is what was done. So if you have a USB failure, okay, computer, wait, basically compile everything and then do a refresh. So technically, if you don't do projects like this, you're not going to produce those kind of engineers. My students are at Blue Origin. I have 20 at SpaceX, several at Blue Origin, Relativity Space, Sierra Space, and then the standard companies. So these are the ones that are the flagship companies that are putting a challenge to pretty much all government-based launch organizations around the world, including ISRO. And they are going to be leaders there. And many of them are doing PhDs at these schools, and some of them are working with me. We have, over the last 17 years I took this up, won 7 national championships, 50 national and international awards. We have produced 100 alumni. Our projects cost only $20,000. Only $20,000. And we are cited heavily for payload design. And basically, what I want to talk about is, I can stop in a minute because there's a lot we have to talk. So I'm going to skip this because it's a noisy video. And hopefully, one second, I just put this on mute. Okay, all right. Got it. So what can IITM do? I think IITM should be doing things that it makes the community out there proud. I think IITM needs to challenge some of its students to design these never say die payloads for space flight. The Vikram lander didn't land. It didn't land, it crashed on the moon. The Prime Minister was there and everything else. You can't expect ISRO to deliver this. It needs to be done. This level of training needs to be done at university level. You don't have to work on the real payload, but you need to work on shadow payloads where every aspect of failure needs to be looked at. Otherwise, you're somehow going to think that wall and beyond that is ISRO, this wall and inside is IIT. No, none of that nonsense. There is no such wall. The leaders of that are created here. Are we ready for this? This is a question I asked at Vanderbilt, and at the chancellor level, they said, let's go for it. And it has made Vanderbilt University an internationally reputed school as far as this is going. As far as this goes, we don't even have an aerospace program. What you're looking at is the aerospace engineering. So you can do it. You just have to be creative. You need to challenge students to work at that level. We can't keep complaining about systems level failures and keep reading them in newspapers. We need to step up. We need to step up in engineering. And this is very important. I think this is when we will be noticed at the highest levels. Thank you. I think we'll move forward. Yeah. I think we'll move forward. We don't need to take any questions. Okay. I maybe no. I think it will probably delay. Okay. I think in the interest of time, I want the process to basically concentrate on Dr. Ganesan, and since he has also listened to this, I don't think there's any questions we need to take. I would rather focus on many of the guests here who are going to come forward and speak about Dr. Ganesan and enlighten us about many aspects that we think we know, but we may not know. So I think Miriam here is going to coordinate this.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable speech. I now request Professor Mahesh to come forward and honor Dr. Anil Kumar with a memento. Thank you, sir. Mr. Ganesan Venkata is the son of Dr. V. Ganesan. He graduated with B.Tech in Mechanical Engineering from IIT Madras in the year 1994. He is the Vice President of Engineering at LinkedIn. He is a vibrant leader and a successful professional. We are very happy to have you amongst us on this day, sir. I now invite Mr. Venkata to address the gathering.
Can everyone hear me? Yep. This is a very momentous occasion. Definitely, it's a great honor to be here, standing in front of you, kind of sharing my memories of my father in this occasion where we are instituting this faculty fellowship in his name. One of the things that I always remember about my father was he had this fascination about special patterns and dates. So 2/1/21, December 12th, 12/12, these are dates that had special meanings for him. He would often target these dates as a deadline. The first revision of my book, I'm going to launch it on 2/1/21, that kind of a thing. Or this new project, I'm going to get started on it on 12/12. So I'm sure this date, 6/6/23, is of special significance to him as well. So I'm very, very glad that this program got inaugurated on 6/6/23. A lot of thanks to Professor Anil Kumar. I mean, without him, this whole thing wouldn't have been put together. His perseverance, his pushing through the ups and downs of this program and getting us here. Like, a lot of thanks to you, sir. Like, without it, there is definitely no way we would have been here. And thanks to the IIT Madras team as well. They did quite a bit in order to get us here. And of course, all the students, all his colleagues that contributed to this program as well. A very special thank you. I thought I would share a few of my memories and really some guiding principles, some lessons learned from my father through my time with him here. I think these are lessons that all of us can benefit from for sure. So he had a very intense desire always through his life to help others. He had a very intense desire to help others. I don't know how many of you know this, but he lost his father when, like, my father was 4 years old when he was very young. He and his sister were brought up by his mother. She became a teacher in a convent school, and that's how he helped both kids grow and become successful. I think that always left a very, very strong, indelible impression in my father. It was not a coincidence that he chose learning and research as his profession of choice. It stemmed from his mother becoming a teacher and how she got him to be successful. But it also stems from this place of him wanting to help others and help others learn, help others grow, help others get better at their life. Definitely, I'm sure, like, you're going to hear other stories here from his students. I've heard my fair share in my interactions with the students and colleagues, like how much of an impression he made in them, how much he went out of their way to help them become successful, etc. And there, and I think that's a lesson that all of us can take. He was always talking about paying it forward. What he got from others, he wanted to make sure that he gave it forward as well. And I think that's an important lesson that all of us can live in our lives as well. The other phrase that I often remember my father speaking, and I quote, is "we will do something." That's a phrase that has always stayed with me. This could be like when in my childhood, maybe I was like in sixth grade or something of that nature. May go to him late in the evening after all the stores are closed. Hey, I've completely forgot I need this for school tomorrow. And no idea how he's going to make it happen, but his response would be, "we will do something." And lo and behold, the next day he would have figured out a way to do this. And that was another special quality. He had this strong sense of self-belief. He had the strong sense that he can solve any problem. It may not be instantaneously, but he knew that given time, he could always solve any problems that came his way. And like, one of the things I've noticed is like when he took on a project, when he took on something that he wanted to get through to completion, he always had a plan A and then had a plan B as well. And like one of his favorite phrases was this notion of preserving optionality. A good example of this, when I was finishing up my BTech here at IIT Madras, I was applying to various universities in the US, but his advice was, hey, you should also apply to GATE. Right. And then after I got my admissions in a few universities there, his advice was you should still write that GATE exam because it's important to keep your options open. And do not close your options early. Always keep your options open until the very last minute. And so that's something that I still strive to live by, that preserving optionality is something that all of us can benefit from as well. A very closely related characteristic of him was his positive outlook on life. There was never a problem that will get him down. He was always like had this optimistic, positive outlook on life. And a good example of this is in 2007, he came down with pancreatitis. There was a time when the doctor said, hey, he may not even make it. But he did make it. They had to remove his pancreas to get him to get better. It was a very long, very hard road to recovery. And but much more importantly, because they removed his pancreas, he became insulin dependent as a result of this episode. But he did not let that get him down. 3 times a day, he had to take insulin to keep his sugar levels under control. But he actually turned that into a research project for himself. He would, if my sugar level is this, and I eat this, then this dosage is what's going to keep this under control. He literally turned this into a research project on himself over the course of a few years. So much so that his diabetologist oftentimes told him, hey, you can do dosage better than I can do dosage because of the work that he did. So even something as debilitating as insurance dependence can be, he actually took energy from it. He actually wanted to do more as a result of that episode. He did not let it get him down. So that positive outlook on life that's again, I think, a great lesson for all of us to take from him. The other thing I remember is his attention to detail. Professor Anil Kumar mentioned the books he wrote and like how that's not often an easy thing to do. I've been on the sidelines watching the work that went into creating those books in there. The number of times he would write and rewrite every paragraph to make sure that the concept was conveyed in the simplest possible fashion. The number of proofs that he would go through over and over again. The number of times he has solved every problem in the book again, oftentimes taking the help of students, some of you may actually remember this, to make sure that every problem is solved right and the solution is perfect. The number of, the amount of time he spent poring over diagrams to make sure they're as simple, complete, and correct as he can make it. Like it definitely showed in the final output of all of these books. One of the things that he would say is like, if you're going to do something, you should do it well. You should be proud of the outcome that you produced, the output that he produced. And again, that attention to detail, pride in your own work is a lesson that we should take from him as well. And finally, I want to highlight his like the power of networking that he often talked about and leveraged. So I work for LinkedIn. It's a professional network. LinkedIn's mission is to connect the world's professionals to make them productive and successful. It's connecting people. That's really what the company is about. But LinkedIn's a product of the internet age, right? But way before the internet age, my father knew the power of networking. He knew that it was also a two-way street. You need to help others, but you should also rely on others to help you in your time of need or help others in their time of need. And he was a big proponent. He had a very strong network that he never hesitated to leverage. And basically the lesson from there is we are all stronger if we rely on each other, if we help each other out. No one is strong by themselves. So like these are some of my memories. These are some of the lessons that I think we should take from my father and his life. Just there's a quick summary, like paying that forward. It's you're not an island by yourself, pay it forward. Preserve optionality, like there is not a problem that you can't solve as long as you keep your options open. The notion of you always need to have a positive outcome on life. It should not be about like, don't let anything get you down. Things will always get better. It's always a passing phase. Attention to detail, be proud of the work that you do, and then leverage everybody, be helpful to others, but leverage others in your time of need as well. So those are the lessons that I remember from my father, and I thought I would use this occasion to share this with all of you as well. And thank you.
Thank you, sir, for sharing some good memories with us about Dr. V. Ganesan. I now request Professor Mahesh to honor Mr. Venkatasubramanian with a memento. Thank you, sir. A life well lived is a tribute to all. Now, we will watch a video that pays tribute to Dr. V. Ganesan by all his near and dear ones.
Very good morning to all the respected delegates, professors, my fellow class lab mates, and our Indian students. But firstly, I personally apologize for not being in person to attend this occasion of faculty fellowship program under the name of our beloved Professor V. Ganesan. It is very unfortunate and sad that at this moment our professor is not physically with us, but I strongly believe, and of course, every one of you know that his soul and blessings is always with us. In this occasion, I would like to share my experience, which I will never forget in my life during my MS program at the Big Nation. At the end of my first year of research work, my father passed away due to illness, and after that, I was totally lost in terms of mentally and could not cope up with the research work. However, professor understood my personal situation very well, and he take care of me as his own son, and helped me morally and also financially by helping a lot by arranging a project associate role in the sponsored projects. And finally, I was able to successfully complete my MS program. And it is now I'm a successful principal engineer in my organization. It is all because of process, practical guidance and problem solving tips, and the down to earth personality to handle people and work with people, which helped me to grow in my lab. So with all these things, I'll be sincerely thankful to Professor and his family in all my lifetime.
Hi, this is Vishwanath. I'm MS research scholar from 97 to 99. Professor V. Ganesan has been a mentor, professor, and also much more than that to me. He has been a inspirational figure, and I know it's not only for me, for scores of students and also for future generations. He has been more than a professor to me. He has been a family member. He has invited me to his home a couple of times, and I have done my research thesis corrections at his home late at night because I was working. And he also has attended my marriage. Today, whatever I am is because of him, and I owe it to him. And thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity to do something about him. I wish the future generations will remember him for all his contributions. Thank you.
I am R. Tunilkar Praj, working as professor in IIT University, the School of Mechanical Engineering. I am proud to say that I am the student of our beloved professor V. Ganesan sir, without whom I will not be here. And it's a great opportunity and honor for me to work under him between 2002 and 2006. It was not only a learning experience in gaining knowledge, but also the mannerism, but also the moment how we have to move with others and make things done. I have learned a lot with him. During 2005, I suppose I could recall that I have some personal problem and I left back home to my native place without completing my PhD. Then professor called me individually and given me enough strength, and he taken personal care. And because of that, I was able to complete my PhD, and I could be now professor at the IIT or some other institutions. This is because of his nature. He doesn't want to even leave any student under him to go without the degree or the knowledge. It's not only everybody knows that he has written a wonderful books on ice engines and other computational simulations of ice engines. So there's no doubt in knowing about his expertise in the knowledge of in the knowledge domain. But also is a great man, and he has been lovable by all the students, all the peoples in the field of ice engines. When I joined VIT, one of the professors came and given me a handshake, and he had taken me to the canteen and he was providing me with food and other things. Then I asked why he was very fond of me and why he was talking very much close to me. Then he told that you had an opportunity to work under Professor Ganesan sir, and that is why I used to move very closely with you. So that much of name Professor has already. And I had a golden opportunity to invite him at VIT during 2016 or 17 to share his research experience and research methodology to our students here. And he came with the family, with the madam, and we had a chance to host him in my house, and we had blessings from him. So it's a wonderful moment. And even last year, before those things, he called me and he was talking to me. So those things, my father also used to tell me, don't forget about the professor, because without your professor, you will not be at this level. This is true. It's actually really true. And we learned a lot from his expertise. And one more thing I want to share here with you is that when I was doing his PhD, he had some fracture in the hips. He had undergone a surgery, so he was unable to drive the car. And he used to come with even with a stick. But still, he was more enthusiastic and more energetic. And he used to have a Maruti 800 car, and I used to drop him at home whenever possible. So sometime I used to tell, sir, I don't have that much experience to drive in a city like Chennai. Then he simply says, go ahead. So that is the gesture where we can see, I am along with you, I will tell you how to go, so don't worry. Like that, he gives always the encouragement. So I never feel that I as a new driver, I don't have experience. Then he motivates in such a way that I was able to drive properly, and I am able to do a proper driving. So that's what I'm saying. Each and everything, whatever we can learn from him, even if you want to, I used to have a cup of coffee for him from the canteen. Immediately he will stand up and he takes some 10 rupees or 15 rupees for the coffee, and immediately he give to us. So that is the culture what I learned from him. Like small, those concepts I learned from him. And those attitudes I am also now taking to my PhD students and other BTech and MTech students. And once he met some of our PhD students, of some of my PhD students at VIT, he told, he is my student, and now you are his student. So you are my grand students, like that he was used to tell. So he was always used to have a very jovial nature. Wherever he goes, he attracts the audience, he attracts the guidance and everybody. And he used to give some examples for this petrol engine, diesel engine. Even today, I used to take the same examples and I used to tell to my class. Everybody will laugh and smile, and they won't forget in their entire lifetime. So we can learn a number of things from Professor. One or two words this time may not be sufficient, but I don't want to take much of the time. So I learned a lot. I never feel that Professor is not along with us. Definitely he is along with us. His blessings are always there. Even the last 2 to 3 years, I missed my parents, and along with my parents, I missed our professor also. But I hope their blessings will be always with us to guide us. Thank you for this opportunity to share my views on our beloved professor. Thank you.
Hello, I'm James from Annamalai University. I was a PhD student of Professor V. Ganesan and did my work at IIT Madras between 2003 and 8. My dream was to do a PhD degree from IIT Madras. Professor V. Ganesan was kind enough to take me as a student. He was kind, jovial, and friendly with all of his students. I cherish the time I spent with Professor V. Ganesan. Namaste. I am Mohan Krishna Dudipati. I go by Mohan. I work for Siemens. My work with Siemens, Digital Industries, as a product support manager, close to 25 years, has taken me to various geographies while serving our customers around the world. My journey with Professor Ganesan started in 1987 when I went to pursue MS at IC Engineers Laboratory, IIT Madras. It was such a fine, auspicious moment for me that I traveled with Professor Ganesan for 8 more years as I extended my academic career to acquire PhD till 1995. During this period, I also worked as senior project officer for IC and SR projects at IIT Madras under the leadership of Professor Ganesan. As one would expect, I had many close interactions, exchanges, observations, and lifelong learnings from Professor Ganesan. While it started as a typical student-faculty dynamic, over the years, it evolved to Guru Sishya, boss and employee, mentor-mentee, philosopher, guide, and much beyond. My relationship with Professor Ganesan has shaped my future. Professor Ganesan always used to think and work quite in advance in all the professional facets he operated. Either it could be his teachings in cutting-edge technology courses like simulation of IC engine processes, or acquiring state-of-the-art projects and equipment for IC Engineers Laboratory like 3D hardware anemometry, PDP level systems, and personal computers, or offering advanced research projects for his scholars or writing books. Professor Ganesan's personality and intellect has earned him the most preferred faculty member among the students' community. Professor Ganesan has significantly impacted everyone who interacted with him. We always used to puzzle to know people from lab staff to co-students, administrative staff, faculty, or staff at Central Library and hostels, or staff at Taramani Guest House. They used to admire him for his helpful nature, brilliant aura, and positive attitude. We never heard of him speaking negatively about anyone. It was such an honor to say that we were students of Professor Ganesan. There are always about 10 to 15 students queued at the doors of Professor Ganeshan's office, waiting for a chance to get benefited with his guidance and consultancy. One thing, key attribute of Professor Ganeshan I got very much experience with was he was a very fine human and valued human relationships. Once he believed in and trusted a person, he go to great lengths to help and support him in a righteous manner. Understanding my background and the need to go for work, Professor Ganeshan provided me opportunities to work on campus while continuing my PhD. I'm sure that the chair in honor of Professor Ganeshan at IIT Madras will contribute to his favorite field, thermal sciences and computational mechanics. I'm very confident and wish the chair will reach significant milestones and become a most valuable asset for IIT Madras. I thank the organizers of this event for giving me an opportunity to share few of my memories on this occasion. I wish the event a great success. Thank you.
We also have a few people among the audience who will say a few words about Dr. Ganesan.
I think if I have a list of names that Venkat provided, so to have some continuity here, can I read out some names so that they can come if they're around? Professor Saravanan. Okay. Dr. Badrinath. Okay.
Good morning to all of you. I did my MTech during 86-87 in combustion propulsion in IIT Madras. And then 95 to 2000, I did my PhD under Professor V. Ganesan in IC engine gas turbine combustion. I have been basically working in DRDO, gas turbine research establishment. I served for 37 years. And I knew Professor Ganesan before joining or coming to IIT because I used to do a lot of licensing work for our DRDO recruitment assessment thing. He used to be an expert member for our assessment board, some review meetings. So that way we used to group of us scientists, about 8 to 10 people. Always whenever professor used to come to Bangalore, we were making it a point to meet him, either in our offices mess or wherever he was staying. And a lot of review meetings and discussions we have had with Professor Ganesan. He has been very, very proactive and very helpful in suggesting the ways to handle small things so that the project can go smoothly. And here in IIT also, I had very good discussion for whatever time I spent with him. He was very, very patient, and he used to discuss elaborately, and he was very helpful. And that's how he was a really thorough gentleman and very jovial. And I miss him a lot. Thank you so much. Okay.
So, in the interest of coordination, what I would suggest is the chairman of the mechanical engineering department, Dr. Chandramouli, come and speak a few words about Dr. Ganesan and then introduce the Ganesan faculty fellow. Once that is done, we'll come back to the rest of the testimonials, just in the context, if that's okay with everybody. Okay, Dr. Mouli.
Yeah, good morning to all. Professor VG, I don't have too much personal interaction. We had, of course, towards the end of his career, when I moved to mechanical from applied mechanics, we had a small intersection. I spent good 7 years in my beginning of my career in applied mechanics, and then moved to mechanical. So we didn't have, I think Professor Ramesh and Mallikarjuna who are sitting here probably have a more deeper insight to offer. But one thing I would like, which has not been mentioned, is that he was, I think, also Dean Research. I'm not sure about the tenure, but when I joined, I think he was Dean Research for some time. And then also HOD. Professor Ramesh can probably correct me. I think he did the Dean Research first and then became HOD after that. So, apart from the personal things, he has also served this institute in a number of capacities. So this is what I remember of him. And I'm very happy that, this fellowship is being launched in his honor. And I will now read, my colleague, Dr. Pallab, is the first recipient for this fellowship. So let me read the small citation that we have. Pallab is right now in UK on a collaboration visit. So Dr. Pallab Sinha Mahapatra is an associate professor in the Department of Mechanical Engineering, IIT Madras. He received his PhD and Bachelor of Engineering from the Department of Mechanical Engineering, Jadavpur University in 2014 and 2007, respectively. He also had postdoctoral research experience at the University of Illinois at Chicago. His primary research encompasses interfacial flows, wettability engineering, collective dynamics, and energy systems. He is a recipient of the ISEES Young Scientist Award, ACRB Early Career Research Award, and our own institute's Research and Development Award called IRDA. He has more than 60 journal publications and 9 patent filed or granted. So with that, I suppose Pallab is going to have a follow-up with the acceptance of this fellowship. Thank you.
Light off.
Sir, tightly tilt down your camera, sir. Professor Pallab. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That's it. Fine. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I think I am audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, first of all, it's my honor to be the first recipient of Dr. B. Ganesan faculty fellowship. So it comes with a great responsibility that I'm the first recipient of this, and I accept the fellowship, and I will work towards the vision that Professor Ganesan had to work for the industry, to work with the students, and to have a better ecosystem in the institute. So I will work towards that. And if time permits, I may have a small presentations. So can I do that now? Or I'll just accept it.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. You can please go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm an associate professor in the Department of Mechanical Engineering, as Professor Mauli had just mentioned. So I worked on different areas. One is the open surface flows, where I worked on micro nano surface structured surfaces, and we use it for vertibility patterning, droplet manipulations, and paper-based microfluidics. We worked on different heat transfer problems, including condensation, boiling, evaporations. We developed heat pipes, vapor chambers for thermal managements. Also worked on particle liquid interactions, mainly on the simulations and small scale experiments. And another area which I'm very interested is the collective dynamics, where we study the mixing and segregations, predator-prey dynamics. We understand the crowd dynamics behaviors. So just to highlight few of the work, we worked on open surface flows. This is the few simulations, and this is the experiments where we filed a patent on this to identify contaminants in liquid foods, and also works on these surface fabrications of different types, where we want to see how these behaviors changes and change the effect of the condensation, which is also a big industrial problem. This is our experimental setup, where we do experiments on the condensation and anti-icing, which is one of our focus for these fellowships in the next few years, 5 years. So I worked on the condensation problem. So we have different types of surfaces, and we see how this condensation behaves differently in different types of surfaces. So it is more intense. It is not only the type of surface, and we can say that what type of condensation it is. So, say for example, this is a behavior of the droplet jumping. When the droplet coalesces, it jumps up from the surfaces. So in pure vapor environment, these jumping surfaces are very good, and it shows a enhancement, but it is not very efficient in a non-condensable gases. So we have done experiments and shown that and why it is happening. So we have developed heat pipes in collaboration with my other colleagues in the department, and developed flat thermosiphon, so for efficient thermal management. So here I want to highlight a small experiments which one of our PhD students has developed a small micro PIV, which was developed in-house. And then we did experiments on droplet, how droplet evaporates, and how we can see how the liquid is flowing inside the droplet when it is evaporating. So Dr. Tejasvi is now a postdoc in TU Darmstadt, and who developed this in the Dr. Arvind's lab at heat transfer laboratory in IIT Madras. These are the collective behaviors we are working on. So it's basically collective motions of phase, or it can be locust or the bacteria or the birds, how they are moving. And we are trying to model these behaviors. And we're going to see how different patterns emerges out of these collective motions. So my vision for this fellowship program is to work towards this collective behaviors modeling and condensation anti-icing, and then the thermal management system. I will develop a few NPTEL course and also develop an elective courses. And I'm thankful to all my collaborators, my students, and the funding agencies that I have received funding so far. So that's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mahapatra. I think on behalf of the Dr. Ganesan Faculty Fellow campaign, we feel really happy and overjoyed to see this selection hit the spot really well. Your accomplishments and a lot to come, connecting the micro and the macro, I think is extraordinarily good. I think we wish you very well. And I think this will make IIT Madras that much more proud and that much more multi-dimensional. And we wish you a very good career. And we strongly suggest that you stay with us, which is stay with IITM. And that's very important too. So the Ganesan Faculty Fellow has meant to actually run horses like this. I think we are really happy that the right horse is drawing the cart. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Basically, we want to carry on with the testimonials. Dr. Sagyaraj, yeah.
I'm Sagai Raj. I worked under a professor during the year 2009 to 2014. I collected some memories related while I was working under the professor. During my academic journey, I had the privilege of being guided by my exceptional professor who not only imparted the knowledge, but also he has left an mark on my heart. So through his teaching support and inspiration, I was able to create some sweetful and endurable memories. I liked mainly the two things. The one is the passionate teaching. So during the teaching, he always used to give a real life example. As one of the professors said that during his teaching, he used to give an explanation about the real life examples. Like for explaining the SI engine combustion and the CI engine combustion, he used to give an example with the love marriage and the arranged marriage. And other one example I inspired is that for explaining about the heat release rate in a compression ignition combustion process, he said that there will be a two peak. One is the premixed phase peak and the diffusion combustion phase peak. So that is like a life. There will be always a happiness and a sadness will come continuously. That is like a multiple cycle, like that he has explained. So I inspired with this teaching. And the next thing I used to say that I proudly say that because of the professor inspiration and the continuous imparting knowledge, I proudly say that I got the postdoc in the University of Cambridge. I did my postdoc from 2014 to 2016 because of the professor's guidance. And finally, I would like to conclude that I am forever grateful for the sweet memories and the enduring lessons that I have learned from the professor's wisdom and their guidance. Thank you.
Professor Mallikarjuna.
Good morning to all of you. I'm Professor Mallikarjuna in the Department of Mechanical Engineering, IIT Madras. So my association with Professor Ganesan started in the year 1990 when I came here for the MTech. So he was my guide during my MTech time. And after finishing my MTech, when I was going back, I told I'll come back, sir, again for PhD. You have to take me. He said, okay. So he come that time, we'll see. So when I came back in 95, he told he selected, I was selected here, and then I selected Professor Ganesan as my guide. So he gave me full freedom to do whatever what I wanted to do. So I successfully completed my PhD in 98. So it was a very good time here to spend a lot of time with him. And that time he was the Dean of Academic Research also. So very funny thing happened is for my first seminar, he was not there. for some work, and for second semester, Aparna had admission in the college, so he went there. Then I told, at least for synopsis, you come, sir. So like that was a very funny thing, and he was very jovial, you know. Then later I was working at that time in 2002 in Bangalore. So one morning, 6 o'clock, some phone call came. And that time, Professor Ganesan was talking the other side. He told me, why don't you apply for the faculty position in IIT Madras? I was not at all thinking of applying to IIT Madras. I was working in Bangalore. But anyway, let me try. So I applied, and then I was selected here. So then when I joined, we both became colleagues, and I was sitting adjacent to his room. Then we started working together. And that time in 2003, I joined here. In 2004, he was the HOD, and then he called me. So there is a call for the DST FIST project. So why don't you apply from Department of Mechanical Engineering? You write a proposal. So we both wrote a proposal for a PIV system. That is laser diagnostics of the engine. And that was the first FIST project sanctioned to the Department of Mechanical Engineering. And we both had an opportunity to set up the PIV lab in SC Engines Laboratory. And that later we used that one very effectively to guide many students. So myself and Ganesan together guided many students, maybe around 7-8 PhD students, and MS students and MTech students. So, and in 2007, just before he had some that pancreatic problem, so we went to Germany for 1 week training program for the PAV. So we had a lot of time, good time there in Germany. We were daily going to the company for the training program, and evening we were roaming around, and so I see a lot of places and a lot of exchanges of ideas. So it was a good time. And so here also, as a colleague and guide and mentor, he guided me many things. So I wish this program will be a successful one, and the recipients will get benefit. So all the best, and thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. So always Ganesan used to tell one jovially, whenever the outgoing students were going and in the farewell function, used to tell, this is the best batch I have seen. And this is what I told last year also. Professor Nagalingam.
Good morning to all of you. I am Nagalingam, a colleague for Ganesan for more than 38 years. I joined this institute. Thank you. I joined this institute on 18th September 1968. At the time, Ganesan was already a teacher training program. He has already completed 2 years. We are sitting in a common room, a common staff room, more than many years. In these years, nearly 38 years, I have never seen him, Ganesan, getting angry. This is one of the greatest quality he has. So he always had a smiling face. B.S. Murthy was the head of the lab and head of the mechanical department at that time. He used to call him, Professor Ganesan, as a biscuit baby, because he has always has a smiling face. Ganesan's research contribution is very impressive. I think in 1970, he was selected for a Commonwealth Fellowship Program. He worked with a well-known Professor Spalding in the Imperial College of London. In the area of his specialization, our favorite area of research is turbulence. After he came back from London, in IIT, he has contributed a lot for the research work. In his career, I can say more than 60 PhDs he has guided. And the number of papers he published crossed more than 200 research papers in the well-known journals. Apart from this research contribution, he wrote 3 books. One book on IC engine, fundamental of IC engines. That book was very popular among the students. Not only in the state, from other state also, this book is widely referred. Actually, it can be called as a Bible for the IC engines, such a nice book on the IC engines. He wrote another book on the simulation of IC engine process. That book became a guide for those researchers who are working as in the theoretical work. Apart from this, he also wrote a book on gas turbines. Ganesan was also an excellent teacher. A number of times he got Best Teacher Award. Apart from this, his academic excellence, basically he is a very kind-hearted person. He is very helpful in helping for others. In particular, I can say other than IIT faculty, many of the IIT non-IIT faculties, they used to come to Ganesan to get the research guidance, and he will help them a lot in completing their PhD programs. And also Ganesan is such a nice person. Many of the technical staff in the ICG laboratory, he has helped him to get jobs in different organizations. He was very helpful to me personally. I can say I built a house in the year 1990 at Dr. Sitabdi Nagar, Velacheri. So at that time, I had a lot of difficulty in completing the construction. So Ganesan came forward to help me financially so that I can easily complete my house construction in my Velacheri area. So he is such a noble person. It is very difficult to believe that he is not with us today. But I am sure Dr. Ganesan lives in the form of the research papers he has published, in the form of the books he has written, also in the hearts of the faculty and the students he has guided, and also in the hearts of the many students whom he taught. And finally, in the hearts of the colleagues, including me, he lives in my heart forever. Thank you.
Professor Bala Bhaskaran.
Good morning to all of you. I do not know where do I fit in this group. Myself and Professor Ganesan joined the IIT Madras on the same day in 1967 or so, I remember correct. And both of us were asked to start work in IC Engines laboratory. So that's why I joined IC Engines laboratory along with Ganesan. We were in a part of a technical teacher training program started by Government of India to tackle the scarcity of qualified teachers in engineering all over India. So that's how we joined there. The starting is a bit interesting to think that Ganesan was from Nagarkoil, the southern end of our country, and he graduated from Coimbatore Government College of Technology, and I am from Tanjore, and I graduated from College of Engineering, Giddi, just across the road. We never met each other earlier. The first time we met is at Regional Engineering College, Nagpur, now presently called NIT Nagpur. That's where the interview for this technical teachers training were held. Since it was an all India selection, there was a large, huge crowd there, and we were all asked to sit in a big hall. And surprisingly, I found a person sitting next to me was talking in Tamil to somebody else. When I turned and asked him, Mr. Ganesan actually was sitting by the side of him. I didn't know who was it is. Then when he talked in Tamil, I again pursued as out of interest, are you from Madras? He said yes. Then that was the first meeting for us. And from that day onwards, we have become a good friends. So after the selection, after a couple of months, I received the order that I have been selected and posted at IIT Madras. And at that time I was working in a Gindi Engineering College as a faculty for 1 year. So I took a leave from there, or not leave, actually I get a discharge certificate from there and came to IIT to join. Again, Ganesan was standing in front of me, holding the same type of papers. So both of us joined on the same day, and the director asked both of us, okay, you go and work in the IC Engines lab, because as part of this technical teacher training program, we are supposed to finish our MTech degree during that 3 years, and along with our taking classes and helping the students in the laboratory, etc. So that's how the 3 years period I should spend. So the first 3 years, myself and Ganesan worked as colleagues for some time. Then we have to attend classes. We became classmates in MTech there. So after that, we became colleagues. After the end of 3 years, we have been appointed in a regular position at IIT Madras. Again, there is a catch there. When I finished my degree in IC Engines lab along with Ganesan. So my MTech degree is in IC Engines lab. So when we went for the interview, there was only one position vacant in IC Engines lab. So who will join here, either Ganesan or Balavaskaran? This is the question they raised. Then when Professor Murthy was there, was the head of the laboratory IC Engines lab. He told me when we went and asked him who he should select. Then he said, you two are like my two eyes, which eye I will select. So you pray for him and you pray for him. That's what he said. Okay. Then when we went to the director, the director, Professor Ravichandran, in his office, the interview was held. He found out a solution. Ganesan, right from the beginning, he was working in hardware anemometry. And I was just searching for a problem on which problem I should work. Then there was an industrial problem came there to design a blower to match an ice engine. It's a knapsack blower used in the pesticide spraying. So the whole unit they imported from Germany. The company started simply copying it, and then they imported the engine. The blower side, they just copied that and then made here, and then they were selling it. But what happened is, after some time, the number of other industries manufacturing in India, they all put a pressure to the government. We are making the engines. Why this company is not using it? They are importing it. It should not be allowed. So government brought pressure on them to use the locally available engines, and the characteristics which is slightly different from the imported German engines. So the imported blower did not match with these local engines. So they don't know how to design a blower. That's why they brought the entire unit to IC Engines lab and then asked us whether you can help us to design the blower to match this particular engine. This problem was good when the German professor Stahl, when Professor Stahl was there. He said, why don't you take this project? I even never trained in designing a blower or anything. I don't know anything about blower. He said, no, you can yourself, you try yourself, learn yourself and come. Then I had to run around the turbo machines lab and borrowed a lot of books and discussed with some of the professors there how to design a blower. That is one part of it. The other part is to completely test the local engine, find out the characteristics of this, and then match this up to this one. So this is how I finished the project and then submitted. We both got the degrees. When we went for the interview, Professor Ramchandra, director, he said, I will give you a solution. I will put you based on the project line you did. You did a project on a subject like turbo machines. So you go to the turbo machines lab. Ganesan was doing something on the auto enmagnetics related to fluid flow studies in engines. So let him be here. So finally, I have no other alternative. I said, very reluctantly, I agreed because I have to learn turbo machines right from the beginning. That's how we, up to that first 3 years, we were very close to each other, technically, work-wise, etc. Then after we got the job, we totally separated. My line was different and the Ganesan line was different. There was no academic interaction between us after that. Then our interactions totally has become only as a friend. See, my journey along with Ganesan runs for more than 50 years. We were together. Even so, till his last breath, I was associated with him, not academically, but socially. So we become the family friends. We were living inside of that one. So in these 50 years, I always found Ganesan is very calm and peaceful person. I have never seen him even a single day with a hot face or a sad face. He never shouts at people. Very cool and extremely nice person to move with. And always smiling. Somebody said Ganesan means is always, you will see only a smiling face, even in this short photograph and what. So we actually, when Dr. Vijayashree, his colleague, called me on his final day around 5:30 a.m. and telling me that Ganesan is no more. It was a very big shock for me. When I went there to see him, we immediately rushed to his house and seeing Ganesan in the glass case, the freezer box. You won't believe it is the same smiling face I everybody could say it. You will never say that he is no more. Such a wonderful person, he never, I could not believe that he is no more. So till that day, we have become very close family friends. My son and Ganesan's son Venkatesh, they were also classmates in the school. And I really take this opportunity to thank Venkatesh and Professor Anil Kumar, for their effective thought of installing this faculty award program in the name of Ganesan. It's a real honor to him, which he richly deserves. And this will also is going to help the future students as well as the faculty to achieve their excellence. I really congratulate Venkatesh and Dr. Anil Kumar to start this effort. Thank you very much, everyone.
So, in the interest of time, I don't want to lose anybody who has volunteered to speak, but I will just ask them to use a little less time. Professor Ramesh. So it's my job to instruct professors to be short.
Good afternoon to everyone. I was an MTech student here in 1983, and that is when my association with Professor Ganesan started. And I had the opportunity to attend two of his courses. One is the famous ME 600 Computers and Engineering, where we had some, I think, 300, 400 students in one class. And the other one is engine simulation, IC engine simulation and processes. And these classes were really very interesting. Everyone knows Professor Ganesan's class is very interesting. And we never used to get the feeling of being in a classroom. And yet we learned a lot. So it was just a sort of an experience. The class was an experience where we were just there with learning without knowing that we are learning. That's how it was. Professor Ganesan is a very positive person. Then I moved from here to Delhi. I worked in IIT Delhi and came back. And then I joined the laboratory as a faculty member, and we all worked together. And Professor Ganesan is a very positive person. We could walk into his room anytime, office room anytime, and ask him any question. And even if he's busy, he'll always have time for us. I have many times found that he will be busy, but if you enter, he'll definitely have time for you. And no matter what you want, he'll discuss with you. And I've asked him so many questions. Particularly, I used to always go and ask him about who's the best doctor in Chennai where I could take my father for some ailment. So, I mean, I'll always have an answer. So, for anything. So, we will always miss him. He's a person who will always help. Very jovial person. Sometimes I used to go to his room to ask him about his health. We all know that he was unwell for some time. But once you enter his room, you will not feel like asking him how you are. Because he'll make you feel so positive that you'll think that you should not ask this question because he's fine. So why should you actually remind him about his health? So that's that kind of a person. So he's a very positive person. We'll all miss him and we'll continue to miss him. Thank you for this opportunity.
Ilaya Perumal. Srinivas and Suresh Kumar are from UCAL Fuel Systems. Srinivas, yeah. I think you guys can go together if you wanted. You're running the company together, I guess. Yeah. So, that way, I can say that one person spoke and reduce my list.
Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. My pranams to Professor B. Ganesan and the professors and my dear friends here. although he has been a friend, philosopher, and guide. So we learned a lot of good value systems from him. Actually, I would like to mention some of that actually. So one is a very good attitude. That's always he used to say. So if it's a person with a good attitude, we can achieve anything. So other things can always be inculcated. Attitude is one thing which he always say it's very important. In fact, he says when you add some various qualities, this comes to 99. So he always say this all attitude always scores very high. And the other one is never give up. So when both of us visited, when he had some hip fracture, so we visited him. He said that he's writing a book at that time. So I don't know whether it is because of changing his mind or he wanted to do something different. So he wrote a book. He said that ABC of thermodynamics as an IC engine. So that's what he was saying actually. So never give up attitude. That's another value system which we learn. And making things very simple. So it is not that what you know is important. It is what you make the other person comprehend is very important actually. So he used to make things very simple, and the other person can easily understand that as well. The other one is always aim for perfection. So even as I did my, I'm sorry, I didn't introduce, I did my MS Madras guidance in between 94 to 96. When we used to write a lot of thesis reports, he always used to aim for perfection. So he never will compromise on something which is, which he is not accept, he's not going to accept. Till 1, 2 in the morning, he used to correct our reports and then do that. So that's perfection is another thing which he always used to aim for. The other one is whatever research we do, it's always very important that it gets connected to the industry. So he always used to, we have good association with him for so many decades. We work for a company called UCAL Fuel Systems. So we used to have a lot of good interactions between our company and specifically the IIT, specifically the professor and other professors here as well. So he always used to say that the bridge between industry and institute is always important. Maybe you may have some industrial problems, but you can always come back to the institute and then find a solution for that. So these are the few words which I have. Thanks so much for the opportunity. So again, thank you.
Hello, I'm Dr. Sreshma. I'm colleague of Mr. B. Srinivasan. I did MTech at IIT Madras and also PhD at IIT Madras under process guidance. So actually, as he said, the good industry connect between us. So we had a relationship of more than 4 decades with Professor as a organization, and close to about 15 of our UCAL Field Systems students have got guided by him for MTech program. And I have on my, he is my academic guru, and my industrial guru is Professor Govindarajan, which other professors also know. So actually he joined IIT Madras way back in 90s, and then he wants to do the PhD. At that point of time, our industry was at heart of the city. So it was moved from here to Marimal Nagar. Actually, he registered for the course. He did the basic coursework, but he could not continue because every day he has to travel to Marimal Nagar. So it was his wish that I should do the PhD. I should continue that work and then complete it. Then Professor said it's the right thing to give the return back to my industrial guru, Mr. Govindarajan. So I did the program. One main thing is that for industry, that problems will be typically slightly different, but for IIT, it should be generic. So we cannot take a particular problem of industry and cannot solve it. So he used to say that you started the program, let us build that. And I remember that when I did my MTech project, it was a very butterfly system thing what we did. But he took that particular problem and then he made it so big that I did the entire intake system along with the fuel injection. It was only a butterfly problem. Professor Bob was asking during the time at the MTech PhD Viva, MTech Viva, why you took a very so big problem for a MTech? I said, sir, I started that, and it was first time I started using CFD. So I said I started that, and then Professor guided me a lot of things, and even also the number of publications. Though we are from industries and we could not spend much time here, but he insisted on completing the necessary publication works in the good journals. And with both of my gurus, I was able to complete close to about 25 papers, both at IIT Madras as well as in the industries. So one last thing which I will say that he always used to say that once you complete the PhD, it is not that research is done. Now only you have started learning how to do research. Thank you very much.
So I have 1 minute left. If Ganeshan's daughter wants to speak, she can take the minute. Yeah. She said Mr. Solimutu, who has come from Bangalore, should get a couple of minutes. So
Respected dignitaries on the days and off the days. I am Dr. Sholimuthu from Bangalore. It gives me an immense pleasure to give a small background idea about our Professor V. Ganesan. Honestly speaking, you are having a faith towards Professor V. Ganesan with respect to IIT Madras. But whereas my case is extremely different. I registered my PhD in Anna University, Chennai, 2007. In 2011, I was in position to submit my PhD, both synopsis and as well as thesis to Anna University, Chennai. At that time, I have lost my guide, Dr. P. Govindarajan, Principal of Sona College of Technology, Salem. I was in position whether my PhD to be discontinued or what to do. That was the pathetic situation. I stood up there. The moment he received the message from other source stating that Dr. P. Govindarajan is no more, Professor V. Ganesan, after 3 days, he had called me. I'm talking about 2011. He had called me. I came to know that your guide is no more. Don't worry about it. I'm here to help you. Just we can meet Vice Chancellor of Anna University, Chennai. Get official concurrence from him. I'm here to guide you as a external guide. I didn't ask him actually. In 2010, I met him in NIT Calicut and Annamalai University, Chidambaram. There, 2-3 times I met him. But I don't know, there was a connection between Dr. V. Ganesan and Solimuthu. That's what I can say. Within 6 months, he guided me. Along with his name, I have published 7 various international journals out of 444 journals in Professor V. Ganesan list of publications. Out of 7, 4 papers are related to Taylor and Francis, Springer, ASME, and as well as LCVR applied energy. So it's a right platform for me to say about my Guruji, Professor V. Ganesan. Professor V. Ganesan, he has achieved a lot, not only due to official commitments and responsibility dedication part, but from the family members, Mrs. V. Ganesan, Mrs. Rajalakshmi, Mr. Vengat, son of Professor V. Ganesan, Mrs. Abarna, daughter of Professor V. Ganesan. I would like to tell you about Mrs. V. Ganesan. She used to call me, எப்படி இருக்கீங்க, வீட்டில் பிருந்தா, குழந்தைங்க எல்லாம் சோறீங்களா? I was wondering, how come she knows about my spouse name? My spouse name is Mrs. Brinda. Then she told me, my daughter-in-law name is Brinda. That is why I am calling your spouse name Brinda, and it is there in my mind. That much family commitments I have been maintaining, I guess. 13th of February 2022, there was a phone call from Dr. Vijay Sri early morning 4:30, I guess. Professor is no more. After that, she started to cry. Then I could understand what was the situation. Immediately, I came to Adayar because I'm from Bangalore. Then I participated in his condolence. I came out. The situation is, you know, what happened on the day. After that, just 3-4 days back, there was a phone call from the daughter of Professor V. Ganesan, Mrs. Abarna. she had called me. First time when she called me, I was unable to her phone call because I was on road. After 9 o'clock, she had called me. She said, there was a program called Professor V. Ganesan Faculty Fellowship at IIT Madras, 6th of June 2023. You must come. She didn't invite me. She said, you must come without delay or fail. It's my order. I said immediately, okay. In spite of all my busy schedule, I came here to participate my Guruji Faculty Fellowship at IIT Madras, Professor V. Ganesan. It's my honor to highlight about Professor V. Ganesan. Thanks for this opportunity. Last but not least, Professor V. Ganesan, whenever I used to call his name, he used to tell only 2 words: tension, pension. If you have tension, you may not be in position to get pension. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. There's a Japanese proverb which goes, better than 1,000 days of diligent study is 1 day spent with a great teacher. So I think this proverb certainly holds true. I mean, of course, not 1 day, but many days. But this proverb certainly holds true for Dr. Anil Kumar here, because he had, spent his BTech days probably listening to my dad's classes. And it has left such a lasting impression on him that today we all stand here, to institutionalize this fellowship. And he has been the sole cause for this, and he's worked so closely with my brother on this. And this has been made into a faculty fellowship program, and something which is going to live. I mean, it's a legacy in my dad's name, right? It's going to live through as long as IIT Madras is there. So, and there's so many of them who's going to know about Professor V. Ganesan, the generations to come. They're going to remember this. So my heartfelt gratitude and thanks to Dr. Anil Kumar on this. And it's been wonderful to hear everybody talk about their experiences with my father. So we all, they all shared their experiences of how he has been as a great teacher. So I would like to touch upon a few things on how he has been as a father to me. A lot of what my brother Venkat, in fact, all of what my brother Venkat says these are the things which I have as well learned from my father. A couple of more points to add on. So one of the main point which I would always remember is how you should be as a wonderful human being. I mean, irrespective of your professional achievements, how you treat somebody, how you are with someone matters a lot, and that's what is going to leave a lasting impression on their mind. So I have been, so that's one inspirational thing for me. So I have seen him guide so many students, because I was kind of, it was my growing up years, and a lot of them used to visit our house. And I have been, the love that they showered on him also extended to his family, because I've had the privilege of going on travels arranged by his students, going out to their houses for lunch and so on. So that's the kind of love that was showered upon him. So how you are as a person really matters, and that's what I learned from my father. So he was very humble, very down to earth, and like many people who said here, he doesn't get angry at all, and it's just not in his professional circle. That was very true in the house as well. So we have never ever seen him get angry at us as children, scold you for something, or not even once that I can actually remember. So and that speaks volumes about how he used to treat everybody. The second thing that I would like to touch upon is his resilience and determination. So I think Venkat did say about the tough condition that he went through because of his pancreatitis. The 15 years post that, not once has he complained about life, right? In the sense, he used to travel a lot, even after this condition. So we all used to be worried at home, especially, around 2015, 16, when he was getting older, like, should you be really traveling across the country for giving lectures and all of that? Because he used to receive a lot of invitations. but he never, he always took his health in his stride. So not even once did he complain about his about what he went through. So that's something which I always will remember. So whenever you go through a tough time and come out of it, just be grateful for it and just see how you can move on from there, right? So even when he used to ask, if he's not well, do you want to visit a doctor? He always used to jovially ask us, why, is there something wrong with him? So that used to be the kind of wit and humor that he used to be as a person. And that also spilled over in all the lectures, all his teachings with all the students that happened, right? Because like somebody said, all of his classes used to be filled with so much of humor. So whenever he had to explain any hard concept, he always used to give some examples, and some of it used to be made up by him. Some of those used to be jokes that he has read and collected and saved. So in fact, I am sure that there is a repository of jokes that he has collected. So, this was again an inspiration for me, because when I was doing my undergraduation, post-graduation, and there used to be seminars which I had to give, I always used to remember this, right? So just how can you be different from others is through this, right? So how you can make the class more interesting is through this. So that's again another thing that's something which I would always remember from my dad. So, the list is endless and I can go on, but I'm so thankful and grateful to all of you who are here, and to all the contributors who has made this fellowship possible, to make his legacy live on. Finally, there is a saying which says a dad is a son's true hero and a father's first true love, right? So, a daughter's first true love. And that's been very, very true in both our cases. So I'm sure that, as Dr. Anil Kumar said, my dad is somewhere sitting here in this gathering looking at this, and that he is happy on where his legacy has come to. Thank you so much.
So I thank everybody who have been here and on Zoom following this celebration of Dr. Ganesan's life and accomplishments. And I'm sure he has watched this, and he's going to be quite pleased about it. I would like to give a vote of thanks, and I want to start in a particular order here. I want to first thank our audiovisual boys here who really took the crisis and brought it to life. So let's give them a big hand. I want to thank Jennifer here for coordinating this event and suffering through all the details, and the equanimity with which she has handled this is very remarkable. And I want to thank you, Jennifer, for this great job. Miriam, I snatched the microphone from you, but it was your task. But I think it became too much. And I think you did a great job. And we thank you very much for what you did. Thank you. I want to bank on a few more relationships here. Sujata Dubey, I heard her last name today. It was, I just know her as Sujata. She has been working with me and making things possible. A lot of confidence that I have comes from knowing people, and Sujata is that person. And I thank her very much for actually being that person. I think she's going to leave a legacy where hopefully others will be trained to what she did and things like that. So, in terms of whenever she wants to, as Dr. Ganesan was saying about, retirement and things like that. Well, thank you, Sujata. Thank you a lot. Mahesh here, the Dean, has been very communicative and approachable So he's been the link between the administration and the alumni. I wish him very well on his task and trajectory. So thank you, Mahesh. And in particular, I want to thank you for speeding the process of selection of a candidate to hold the Dr. Ganesan Faculty Fellow. And that's very important to us to see that completion. And an extraordinarily good candidate has been selected, and we thank you for that. Now, I was told that today has been a great day where IIT Madras has once again ranked as first in the engineering division in the national rankings. But friends, let us worry about the bigger aspect, which is where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? We haven't reached the top. We have reached the top in a certain calibration, but at an international level, to be recognized will require a lot of footprint. I think Dr. Mahapatra gives me confidence, but we need to see a lot of these things because, you know, we are going to be ranked by those who are already above us. So cutting in is going to be difficult, but thankfully it's not my job, but it's in good hands. And let's use this occasion to wish Director Kamakoti the best in his efforts to bring a new vision to IIT Madras that is inclusive and at the same time looking for excellence. And let's also ask the alumni to come back with new ideas and which will be welcomed and which will be important to take our institution forward, because ideas are really at the end of the day more important than resources. Resources can be put together, but it's the ideas that are most important. There are a lot of elderly professors who have taken time to be part of this meeting. I thank them. And please avail of the opportunity to have a luncheon with Dr. Ganesan's family today at the Taramani Guest House. Jennifer has arranged it. And though I will be moving forward with other engagements, I thank everybody for being part of this occasion and making this a very successful one. Thank you all. Thank you. Yeah.
I request you all to rise for the national anthem.
शुभ आशीष मांगे जय जय जय